This season has been feeling really responsible, really insightful, intelligent, I think is a word that we could use as well to describe how season two has been going. And today I want to do a bit more of an unhinged episode, and we're going to go through some of my hot takes for thoughts I've been having, trends that I got sucked into that I would like to gracefully exit, and just do a little check-in on what in the world is going on in social media and what are my thoughts about it. You definitely don't have to agree with my thoughts. I just want to say these out loud, and maybe you have been feeling the same way and didn't know how to put it into words. Maybe you never even thought about these. And as I said before, maybe you just 100% disagree with this. Just a friendly reminder, I'm not a therapist, psychologist, or expert in human behavior. This is a judgment-free assumption checking zone. Take what resonates and leave the rest. Welcome to season 2, episode 4 of She's Probably Talking to Other Guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm your host, Annie of the Banannie Diaries. Hot take number 1 is about going through your healing era. Now, keep in mind, this is no judgment whatsoever. Everyone has gone through their own experiences. Everyone has been affected in different ways by things that they have gone through. This is just my take from what I see on social media. So I myself went through a healing era, and I feel like it's a process that's going to go on for a while. But for me, I am feeling like, okay, I kind of needed to just shut that door and move on because I don't want to be stuck in that era forever. And it sometimes feels with all the content that just keeps getting pushed out on social media that the healing era is kind of extending almost longer than it needs to. So, yes, when you've gone through something, you need to take the time to take care of yourself and do what you need to do. I'm talking about on social media, how sometimes I think it can come across as, we're going to label it as emotional procrastination, where it almost, sometimes we take things that people say as permission that we can take as long as we need to or as long as we want to get back to our regularly scheduled programming, or however you want to refer to it. But sometimes I think that there needs to be a point where enough is enough, and you do need to get back on. You do need to start pushing yourself to either not necessarily return to what hurt you, but to figure out, okay, well, this was the path I was going on when all of this ish happened. This was where I thought I was going to go before all of this ish happened. Do I still want that? And if you do, find ways to maybe get yourself back in there. And again, I am in the midst of this right now. So this is not me saying that, oh, your phase is done, move on. That's not what this is. I know that there are feelings that are going to start coming up as I go back into this path. But again, it's kind of, this is where I feel like the procrastination part came in. You know, if this is something you want, you still need to do it. And the outside noise that's going to come from other people, it needs to be silenced. It needs to be ignored. You have to just do what's best for you. But at the same time, you still need to chase your dreams, because what happens in 40 years when you're going to have regret that you were hurt, yes, but you didn't go after what you really wanted because you took so long. And again, this kind of emotional procrastination, you're really sad, you're pushing stuff off because you're really sad or whatever it might be. For me, I just feel like I don't want my feed to be full of like healing era content anymore. I feel like enough is enough, and now it just needs, I need to get back to my regularly scheduled programming. So the other thing too, we're going to go from a completely different perspective for a second. I like to play devil's advocate. I did this a lot in season 1, and we're bringing it back in season 2. So I'm just going to take some generic thoughts and then give you my point of view on it. Again, this is not telling you that you're right or wrong. So some assumptions that come up, and a lot of times this is because of social media, is if I'm uncomfortable, it must be trauma. Now, I have been through some traumatic things in my life, things that we are not going to discuss because this is not the time or the place. So for me, if I experience an inconvenience or if I'm having an uncomfortable conversation, I feel like I can get through those moments much better because of what I've been through, because I took the time to heal, because I took time to kind of figure out what I want and what I don't want in my life. This is not the case for everyone. This is not telling you that you're doing anything wrong if you have experienced trauma. What I'm going to talk about right now is something where, in my mind, I think of these as minor inconveniences, whereas other people sometimes do consider them to be like a trauma, which, okay, that's on you, that's fine. But for me, I would never actually go there because I have experienced trauma. So I know what these lines are in my life. If you go to Starbucks and they don't have the drink that you wanted, that for me is an inconvenience. During seasons, let's use that Starbucks, that funny little bear cup. Like, people were freaking out because they couldn't get their hands on them. That is an inconvenience, okay? If we talk about something like an uncomfortable conversation, let's use an example. You made a mistake at work. Maybe you scheduled the meeting for the wrong day, and now there's a bit of a scheduling mess, right? If a higher up comes to talk to you about it, to tell you that you made a mistake, yeah, it might be uncomfortable, but that's more of a little, I'll double check my work next time. Like, let's figure out where the miscommunication happened. Again, for me, that's a miscommunication. That's a mistake that you need to take ownership of. That is not trauma for me. To each their own. I think that sometimes social media talks about trauma so much. And I think that one thing that happens on social media is we tend to want to fit into certain boxes or certain, I don't want to say niches, because niche I feel like is more for the person putting out the content, but we want that relatable moment. We want to fit in. Naturally, I just feel like that's human, like, desire is to want to fit in somewhere, but make sure that you're trying to fit in the right place, because there are people who have experienced significant trauma in their life. So again, Starbucks not having the drink you wanted, that's not trauma. So choose your lane, but make sure that you're in the correct lane, because again, otherwise, how long are you going to let whatever inconvenience simmer in your head? And now again, we've reached emotional procrastination, because are you really in a healing era, or did you just experience an inconvenience? The next one, I can't take action until I fully understand my childhood. A lot of people have been talking on social media about childhood traumas, and this is the way I am now because this is what happened in my childhood. If you don't want to participate in that, you 100% do not have to. I honestly, don't even really care to try to figure out much that happened in my childhood and psychoanalyze it. So for me, that's a group on social media I will never be joining. The next one is avoiding things is equal to self-care. Yes and no. Again, I think it goes back to the concept of, we're going to use the word boundaries instead of avoiding, because those are two different things. So avoiding something is something that you should be doing, or that you need to do it to get to maybe the next level. Boundaries is something where, okay, you've experienced it, you know that this is not for you. That is self-care. So for me, avoiding things is not self-care, it is procrastination. Setting up a boundary because you've already experienced something and you know that it's not really good for you, that is self-care. Okay, next up. Journaling about it counts as doing something about it. Yes and no. I like to journal sometimes to get things out of my mind onto paper, because sometimes if I just process it by journaling it, then I actually realize, okay, this really isn't going to matter in the long run, so let's just get this out of my mind. But journaling doesn't necessarily do all the work that you may need to heal from maybe a trauma that happened. Yes, I feel like journaling can help. Personally, for me, it's not going to solve the entire problem. Growth is supposed to feel soft and gentle all the time. I have no idea what a soft growth journey would feel like. My growth journey has been equal parts happiness and completely 100% miserable. So I have no idea who has had a soft and gentle growth journey the entire time. Send me notes on that if you've experienced that, because I have not, and I don't know anyone who has. Okay, and the last one is I need one more podcast episode before I send the text. Okay, so let's discuss my texting style for a moment, because I know when people first get to know me, I've been told that my texting style can be very abrupt and very harsh all the time. If we're on a relationship where we text each other, I don't feel like I need to say hi, hello, how are you every single time I send you a text. I will just get right to it. So I have been told that, oh, Annie sent me a text. She's so direct. She just wants to get right down to business. Yes, because for me, that's what texting is. I just want to ask you something. I would like an answer, and then we can move on with what's going on. If I want to have a long, like, unwinding phone call, I will call you, I will FaceTime you, and just have some fun. But for me, texting is a bit more blunt and to the point, which is why I text like that. So if I was to listen to a podcast episode before I did something, I feel like it's more on the business end of things. If I wanted to learn something more before I reached out to someone, then I would lean towards a podcast. But for me, I'm not necessarily looking at a podcast for motivation. That word has been coming up so much. I'm not looking to listen to a podcast for motivation to do something. I'm generally looking to learn or to be entertained. Let's close out topic number one. Not everything needs to be processed for 6 months. Sometimes the healing can be found in doing the uncomfortable thing or in doing that thing that you've been putting off. Not everyone needs to have a cute healing aesthetic. You just need to process it the way you need to process it, and then keep going, keep chasing your dreams. Hot take number 2, which this is one that I intend to gracefully exit because even I got sucked in. Soft life content. I'm for it, and then I'm also not for it. So I think one thing that you need to understand, if you don't know already, I'm a professional ballroom dancer. I am highly competitive. I have a lot of goals that I reach. I'm someone where when I reach a goal, I check it off and I don't really take time to celebrate. I just move on to the next one. So then all of this soft life started coming in. I leaned in towards it a bit because I have been through some things, and I do try to be gentle with myself when it comes to pushing myself in certain situations and this and that and setting boundaries, all of that. They are all good things. You need to do what you need to do. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just giving you my perspective. I feel like if I keep going with soft this, soft that, soft this, soft that, it's actually going to take me a lot longer to reach the goals that I know that I can reach faster. So my take on soft life right now is, yes, I'm going to share it in relation to my routines that I do take in more of a lighter, no pressure kind of way. So, for example, I'm not really going to do soft life when I am trying to work on squats when I am trying to bench press a lot of weight, for me, that is something I'm going to be hard on myself with. If I decide that, okay, I need to take a day to just gently move my body and do some yoga, that is where I'm going to put soft life discipline into my routine. Because for me, yoga's not really something I'm great at. Yes, I'm flexible, but I'm not really great at yoga. I did post a video about it using yoga blocks a while ago, but to be honest, it's really just me messing around with yoga. I haven't really done much. So I think that for the soft life, yes and no. Use it when it feels good, but from my perspective, you still need to push yourself. I think something else that also kind of made me, I'm gonna say, wake up in the midst of this social media like theme of everything being soft was when I teach ballroom, especially when I know it's someone who's competitive. I see sometimes how everything is like soft in their life, but they want to win, but they want everything to be soft. And they want their growth to be gentle. They want their growth to be happy and positive all the time. And I think for me, I found that that was kind of them relating to this whole soft life concept. And at the end of the day, you're not going to get faster in your dance routine if you're just gently trying to get faster. Like, you want to work on this. You need to put the fast music on and try to go to the fast music. You need to get there, right? Otherwise, like, you're gonna be going at turtle speed and it's gonna take you 10 times longer to get there. So again, I think soft life, it's good on the days when you need to have grace with yourself, when you are ready to quit, but you don't want to, and you just need a day where maybe you need to just lighten up. But I guess this is my official announcement that I am gracefully exiting soft life. And I am gonna have to, because it's just me, it's just in me to be much more out there and much more bold about things that I'm going after. So I think this is my exit from soft life. Let's take some assumptions about it. So a soft life means I never have to be stressed again. That would be amazing to never be stressed again, but I don't foresee that ever happening, at least in my life. Alignment means not doing hard things. Not really. In my life, I feel like doing the hard things is where I found out if the path I was on was really aligned with where I wanted to go. So I think that sometimes making decisions that are not easy decisions are the ones that are going to help you figure out if you're on the right path or not. There have been really difficult decisions that I have made, and they kind of told me after I made them if I made the right decision or not. And they weren't easy at all. Some people think that soft is no discipline. That's where I definitely have an issue with the whole soft life, is there still needs to be discipline. You still need to keep yourself on a schedule, keep yourself in the correct direction for where you want to go. Because if there's no structure, I don't know how you're going to get to where you want to go to. So you do still have to be firm in your decisions and know what you're trying to achieve. Oh, this one. Money just shows up when you vibe high enough. That's really interesting. I wish, because I would be vibing high all the time. Oh, this is an interesting assumption. Structure is masculine and therefore bad. Not really. I think that structure is structure. It's firm. It's there for a reason. It's there so what you want doesn't fall apart. It's there so you can have a goal, so you can actually see what you're trying to do moving forward. So yeah, structure I don't think is bad. Take that as someone who needs structure as a competitive person. Okay, so soft life, I'm going to be, I already said, gracefully exiting most of this. I am going to keep it in mind on days where I really just need to take a breath. But other than that, I don't think soft life is for me. The next hot take is that therapy language is being misused. So I'm going to read you a few examples of therapy language. When it comes to boundaries, I need to protect my energy right now. I'm setting a boundary around that. I'm honoring my needs. Emotional processing language is I'm just processing my feelings. I'm regulating my nervous system. Conflict avoidance, I'm just not in alignment with this dynamic. I'm prioritizing my mental health. I'm protecting my peace. This isn't serving me anymore. There are ways that we can use these in a productive way and ways that these are used in a not so productive way. Social media has played a big part in this, of course. There are so many videos where people share so much information about this, and they say this is how you respond, this is what you should say, this is what you should do, oh, this is a trauma response, this and that. Again, my advice to you is just that not everyone's a professional. I'm going to use a different example. When people are showing their workout videos online, not everyone is a certified trainer. Not everyone has taken the classes or holds certifications in these topics and these areas to actually be telling you what to do. And again, yes, everyone can have a lot of training and a lot of knowledge without a certification. That's not really what I'm talking about. It's just the concept of being a licensed professional. Not everything you see on TikTok or not everything you see on social media is actual advice coming from a professional who has the credentials to be saying what they're saying. That's why I specifically point out, I am not a professional. Take what resonates and leave the rest. We just have some chit chats on here. This is not therapy advice whatsoever. Ways that I feel are productive when you know how to use quote unquote therapy language is when you're naming your feelings, you're communicating your boundaries very clearly, you take responsibility for your actions and your reactions, right? And then just creating some emotional awareness around situations, around yourself, whatever it might be. Ways that people use therapy language as, I'm going to say, more of an encouragement to avoid things or to avoid what needs to be done, to avoid responsibility, is people avoid accountability, right? They shut down feedback, making normal, everyday disagreements, as we mentioned before, inconveniences sound like they're harmful or they're trauma. There is, in my opinion, a lot of overreaction these days. And then using boundaries to control others. So more of a manipulation type idea, right? When you use therapy phrases, there's, a lot of benefit in using them in the right way. And it can also be a lesson in using them in the right way. So some assumptions that I find to be quite interesting is, quote, everyone I don't like is a narcissist. No, you can not like people and not label them as anything. I think that that's something I'm going to get into in my next hot take a little bit more. You are allowed to not like people, but you don't have to label them and you don't have to call them names just because you don't like them. Yes, some people are actually narcissists. I didn't know that I was essentially like surrounded by them for a very long time. One, I didn't even know what a narcissist was. Two, I didn't know that I was being completely manipulated. So I wasn't labeling them. I didn't even know what it was, but in my healing era is where I learned all about that. Another assumption, every uncomfortable feeling is a trauma response. It doesn't need to be. Again, that comes from about how people use therapy responses in a not really productive way. Not everything is a trauma response. Again, Starbucks not having the ingredients to make your order is not a trauma response. Any criticism is gaslighting. Maybe, I don't know. I might take criticism in a different way because, as a competitive person in competitive ballroom dancing, you need to be able to take criticism. Yes, it's always nicer when it's put in a constructive way, but people say what they're going to say in the way that they say it, and sometimes they don't care how they say it. So any criticism is not gaslighting. Gaslighting is a whole topic on its own. Avoiding responsibility is protecting my peace. No. Protecting your peace, again, it comes from a space where you're doing it because this is something that needs to be done. If you are supposed to be held accountable for something, or if you have responsibilities that you're supposed to be in charge of and take care of, it's not protecting your peace to just not do them. If it's really something you shouldn't be doing, maybe it's time to delegate it to someone else. I don't know. Watching TikToks about attachment styles is equal to emotional intelligence. Again, I think that when you take in content on social media, you need to be aware of where this content's coming from. There's so much that goes out on TikTok, so much that goes viral on social media. What are you taking in? So I like to take a step back and realize, okay, I see what this person's telling me. I kind of like it. I kind of want to believe it, but where is this all coming from? And then go from there, especially when they're bigger decisions. And I would say maybe thought-provoking decisions. That's something to definitely consider. So, hot take, we need to stop diagnosing people we don't like. Not everyone who disagrees with you is toxic or is a bad person. Not every uncomfortable feeling is a trauma response. And not every boundary is valid just because you called it one. The next hot take, and this one, I'm going to try not to go on a rant, but this one really annoys me, which is why I felt like we needed to bring it up. Gossip culture. I can't stand gossip culture. I can't stand when people talk about people. If I'm out somewhere and people start to talk about somebody else, I will excuse myself. I will walk away, or I will say something depending on who they are and how well I know them. I don't like rumors. I don't like when people start sharing stuff as if they know the entire story when they don't. I think a lot of this, yes, comes from personal experience. I have talked about it in the past on this podcast, how so much has been said about me by a group of people. And yes, I stepped away from them because I just couldn't believe it. So for me, I don't do gossip. I don't participate in gossip. I can't stand talking about other people. I don't like being in groups of people who enjoy talking about other people. And yes, I do go as far as celebrities on the internet because there is so much bullying that occurs and people are just so mean, and I don't understand. Like, I don't get how you could be so bored with your own life that you just want to talk ish about other people. It's never going to make sense to me. So let's go through some assumptions about gossip on the internet. If it went viral, it must be true. That's terrible. That is absolutely terrible, especially if you're starting a rumor about someone or you're speaking about an experience that you literally don't even know the truth about, and then to make it go viral, that's terrible. If someone said allegedly, it's basically confirmed. Like, the definition of the word allegedly is not something that's confirmed. That statement makes no sense. So if someone says allegedly, no, it is not confirmed. Strangers owe me access to their entire personal life. Wow, this ties back to season 1. Not everyone deserves a front row seat to your life. I did mention in the episode about how sometimes people expect to just know everything about everyone, even if they're a celebrity. Some people expect that just because they're a fan of someone that they are owed every second of this person's life, every detail about this person's life, and that is not true whatsoever. Speculating is the same as holding people accountable. It is definitely not the same. Again, speculating is it's just thinking, it's just making assumptions. It's not based on truth when you're speculating something. If I don't like them, the rumor feels more believable. That's just really to say. I'm sorry, that's terrible. If you don't like someone, then why are you even wasting any of your time thinking about this person? Talking about people online isn't gossip. I call it commentary. Call it what you want to call it. It's mean. I don't like it. Gross. Yes, this one is a bit personal because I can't stand gossip culture. I can't stand rumors. I can't stand people talking about people when they don't know the truth. Let's do a little reflection on this episode. If the internet feels like a version of the burn book from Mean Girls, I don't think that you're wrong to feel that. It does kind of feel that way, especially when there's so much information being shared constantly about different people, about different topics, and just about different areas of life. Be aware of what you take in, be aware of what you put out. If you feel that you're about to start to talk or gossip about someone and you don't know that it's true, maybe consider thinking twice before you do that, because I'm someone who could tell you that it really doesn't feel good from the other person's perspective for lies and rumors to be spread about them. So maybe consider how you would feel if people did this or said this about you. Be aware of what you take in, especially when it comes to mental health content, when it comes to therapy content. Make sure that what you're listening to is actually coming from someone who is licensed to be talking about it. You don't want to spend all this time in your head developing these new thoughts and these new feelings and these new patterns, and then maybe find out later on that, oh, was it just a social media trend that people were talking about this? Or was it actually someone who knows what they're talking about and has knowledge behind what they're talking about who shared this information with you? Gossip is not entertainment. Find some hobbies if you think that gossip is just like the best form of entertainment, because I can assure you from my perspective that it is absolutely not. If you wouldn't say it to someone's face, maybe you shouldn't be texting it in the group chat either. Just because people have messy moments in public doesn't mean that they need to be judged for it. So many people are filming everything every day, and I actually absolutely can't stand it. If someone's having a messy moment, it doesn't need to be shared publicly, because consider that maybe you like your messy moments in private, and just because someone had one in public doesn't mean that it needs to be shared. Some people think that they are morally superior because they're on, quote, the right side of the rumor. It's a rumor, so how do you even know that you're on the right side? Because you don't even know if it's true or not. Some people think that bullying doesn't count just because the person's famous. They're still humans at the end of the day. Some people think that a confident tone is a credible source. And I think that that's a very important one. People can say things in so many different ways, and it's easy to believe them sometimes. I have personal history with that, and it's not cool when you realize that you were being manipulated the entire time. Some of you think that you're holding people accountable when you're just bullying them for things that they never even said or never even did. All right, we went through some of my hot takes for today. You don't need to agree with them, you don't need to like them, but that is how I'm feeling. At the end of the day, you still need to do what's best for you. You need to go along with what you feel is the best path for you in your life. Season 2 is going to be filled with moments of being serious, having some very intellectual conversations with some very interesting people, but it's also going to have that same she's probably talking to other guys tone. So we're going for unfiltered, fun, bold, and probably starting to swear a bit more. So you might be hearing some more bleeps as we continue on with this season. Thank you so much for tuning in to season 2, episode 4. I am so happy you're here. Hit that follow button to follow the podcast on Spotify. You can also tune in on iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Music. If you're looking for us on social media, you can find it at spttog podcast. Because the full name, she's probably talking to other guys, is too long of a handle. So follow along wherever you choose to take in your social media content, and let's have some fun.